Hello and welcome everyone. The forced displacement of 120,000 Armenians from Artsakh has led to a dire humanitarian crisis. A wide range of humanitarian aid is now urgent and essential to meet the needs of the population, everything from food to shelter to healthcare and mental health. Joining me today is Julian Srodecki, a leading humanitarian aid worker with over 26 years of experience in the field. He is guiding World Vision's initiatives in disaster management and is in Armenia to support World Vision's local office in their efforts. So thank you, Julian, for speaking with me today.
Thank you.
You have specific expertise in the realm of humanitarian financing, from what I understood.
Yep.
In the context of Armenia and in Artsakh, or Nagorno-Karabakh, what are the main problems of securing humanitarian funding, and what can be done to alleviate those issues?
Well, I think it's worth noting that there are a number of crises in the world at the moment, and the world's humanitarian system has got more asks on it than ever before. You've got relatively new emergencies that have become really big, like Ukraine or Afghanistan, or you've got there's also a global food crisis as well, which is putting an unprecedented strain on the world's donors. But I think that what's important at this moment is to tell Armenia's story well, and to come up with a well-coordinated and very effective response to the needs of the people who are leaving Nagorno-Karabakh at the moment.
Among the people that are leaving, there are roughly 30,000 displaced children.
Yep.
And they also have challenges that they're facing, ranging from mental health to physical health to shelter and housing. And do these specific challenges warrant specific strategies for aid?
Absolutely, yes. World Vision is a child-focused organization, and we've got experience going back to 1988 working with the children of Armenia in mazes such as Gegakunik, Sisian, those kinds of areas. And I think we're currently looking at launching a mental health program for children using our network of social workers and animators who already are doing similar things with Armenian children in Armenia. And into the medium term, it's going to be important that these children are put into education, because for a child, having a stable routine and having education is part of making them feel safe and comfortable in what will be a new environment for many of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So in this sense, in what way does World Vision Armenia or World Vision work with and collaborate with different organizations here and communities here as well?
Yeah, we have really good relationships with the various government entities in Armenia that are supporting the response, both at the national level and at the Mars level. So, for example, we're planning to participate in a detailed needs assessment that's coming up soon. We're one of 3 agencies that have been asked to do that on behalf of the Ministry of Labour. And that's going to be important because, as you started off talking about funding, what's important if funding is tight is to target it to where it's most needed. So to do that, we need to spend a few days and some time getting a good needs assessment of what is the most effective thing that children need. When I was down in Sisian and Goris at the weekend, it was inspiring to see families that were leaving Nagorno-Karabakh and spending time with their relatives. I think for a lot of the children that I saw there, it was exciting to be seeing their relatives that they may not be seeing. You know, you had 15 people sharing a small house, which, you know, I think when I was that age would have been a bit of an exciting adventure for maybe the first couple of days. And then after that, it becomes a question of what comes next. And I think one of the things that we do see in a lot of crises is that children follow the example of their parents. So if their parents are stressed, worried, concerned, then that can be communicated very clearly to children. And that's where also interventions like the ones that we and World Vision and other agencies have been doing become important too. So we've been providing lunch boxes to over 1,000 people. We've provided food packages to 500 families so far. And that's important because if the parents know how they're going to get through the next few days and the next couple of weeks, then that's a start. I think one of the things also, though, that we have been hearing when we've been out in the field as an organization is people aren't completely sure where they're going to go next. So there's relief at having found somewhere that's safe for the next few days, but where people are going to go next is a really big question.
What their next steps are going
Absolutely,
to be.
yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure that this is not the first time that you've heard questions like this before, statements like this before. And it's been echoed a lot in Armenia as well. But many tend to blame humanitarian organizations for doing too little too late, or possibly showing up only when it's politically convenient, right? What would be your message to those kinds of critics?
Well, World Vision Armenia has been in Sisian, Gegakunek, places like that in Armenia for decades. And we've been working in the background with children and with affected communities. And that's created the kinds of relationships that we're going to be building on when we look at this crisis. I mean, I'm a visitor to Armenia, really. What we're trying to do here is bring together some of the experiences we have from other parts of the world with to the local team on the ground, so it can make them more effective at not only designing what happens next, but also in mobilizing some of the support from our global organization as well. So it's trying to bring together some of that experience from other contexts with the locally rooted and locally focused Armenian organization that we have here.
And you've mentioned you've come to assist the local office to kind of scale up their activities so that they can handle the crisis more quickly. And in the past, you've mentioned that you're a strong believer in innovation. Do you think that there are specific innovative approaches that, or technologies that you think can hold promise to boosting humanitarian aid delivery?
Yes, I think one of the most exciting things that I've seen really emerge over the last few years is nearly everybody has a mobile phone now, right? So World Vision has been at the forefront of using that, for example, for needs assessments in some circumstances. I know that when in some circumstances, in some countries like Moldova, for example, we can transfer money via mobile phone to people. Those kinds of approaches are really important because if you have a family, for example, like the one I met in Sisian at the weekend, when we were talking to the mother there, she was saying that this was her fourth conflict in the last 30 years she'd experienced. So although she was staying with relatives in Sisian, she wanted to look at moving as far away from borders as possible. And those kinds of innovations, if we can bring them to Armenia, would mean that you can trace where she is, so you can give her the consistent package of assistance. Those kinds of things can be appropriate in some circumstances if people don't feel that that's threatening or that's worrying. I mean, we also have, it's a bit early to be talking about innovation because we don't understand yet fully what people's priorities will be going forwards. And I think what I anticipate will happen is after the initial kind of emergency phase where people are happy to get nearly anything that will help them get through the next few days, as particularly the government assistance schemes kick in, like the cash distribution schemes and things they're talking about, finding ways to plug the gaps that are inevitable will be really important. So for example, some of the things that we're considering at the moment as an office are winterization.
Right.
So when it begins to get cold in Armenia, as we all know, it will very shortly, what will people need for that? So, at the weekend and before, we've observed a lot of people coming out, particularly if they've had their own car, they've brought their own blankets, they have a degree of clothing, but what will they need when they know where they're staying over winter? We did visit a family at the weekend that was staying in a rented house that was not in the best condition, to be honest. And so there are things that could be done with that, with the installation, maybe some upgrades to the house, depending on what's most appropriate. are the kinds of things that will probably make a difference. You know, I mean, I don't know whether people will need heating or heating supplies or those kinds of things, because keeping people warm over the winter is going to be an important part of making a child's experience bearable over the winter. Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. Wishing World Vision luck in their humanitarian aid work here. My name is Angela Hasassian, and thank you for joining us at CivilNet.